right, everyone, welcome back to Central Coast Disc Golf. This is round one, back nine coverage from the Innova Open at the 28th Annual Texas State Disc Golf Championship. Whew, that's a mouthful, Connor. I'm Nate Perkins, joined here yet again by my fellow native Texan and good friend Connor O'Reilly.
Howdy, and welcome back to Houston if you're catching us on the back nine from the front. And if you didn't already see it, there were some amazing highlights. You do not want to miss it out. There's a look at that leaderboard once again. In the 10th, Nate told you the course was going to get harder. Here we are at the turn with the hardest hole on the course, 345 feet. This one's going to be a big power shot in that par 3 range for the FPO division. And the hard part about this one is going to be this built up green on a nice big mound, multiple tiers to it, it looks like. And yeah, this is one of those holes that can be hard as a top player to choose to lay up, and your pride can get the best of you sometimes on these type of holes. So let's see how it plays out for our feature card here.
And if you guys did not check the front nine, I just want to set the setting for you just a bit. Brock Park is a pretty unique place, Connor. We are just 15 miles from the city center of Houston. I mean, we're talking a metropolitan area of 6.5 million people, but it feels like we're in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, we're in this pocket that just, it doesn't feel like you're 20 minutes from downtown Houston.
No, it's completely surrounded by towering loblolly pine and cypress and oaks with all this Spanish moss hanging down that creates all these low ceilings. There's like crawfish mounds in the fairways.
The crawfish tunnels are the most abundant I've ever seen out here, and it makes for some tricky footing. You really got to map your footing out here. It's soft, sandy. Used to be a golf course at one point. Now it's converted to a disc golf course, and there's Owen checking up into this mounded green we mentioned earlier. And yeah, like Nate said, this place it's definitely a nice little slice of the natural world for you here in Houston, Texas.
The first thing I saw when I pulled into the park was a man riding full speed on a horse.
I too saw this.
Followed by 3 wild dogs. I'm not kidding.
Welcome to Houston, Texas,
Connor
y'all.
said that he's seen it almost every day. The wild dogs. And I mean, we're talking, we've got word of a gator in the Greens Bayou that runs through the course. I love it, honestly. I think that this is a really cool setting for a Silver Series event, and I honestly think that we're going to be back here in the future.
Yeah, I think the property has what we need, and I think the course is solid, and I think it can get better, and I'm sure they'll listen to our feedback and do their best to make it better. And let's not gloss over Owen's putt from the bottom of the hill for par save. That was a big boss putt, and we know Owen is dangerous on the greens. That putter's been dropping all around.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of putt. You miss that, then you have the same putt or further coming back. Here it is right here.
These elevated baskets can be so hard. Just changes up your typical release angle. And like I said, improvisation is going to be key to be a great disc golfer.
All right, hole 11. Par 4, 630 feet. Fourth most difficult hole on the course, playing nearly a half stroke over par. And most of that having to do with the fact that we are headed toward another one of these mounds. What do you think these mounds are from, Connor?
I don't know exactly. Did they build these up for the disc golf course? If so, then that's pretty cool that they had the go ahead to just move the earth around like that. I don't really see any other purpose for something like this though, so I feel like it had to be for disc golf purposes. And what do you guys think? Do you guys like built up mounds like this on the green to switch up a course that can be otherwise kind of more repetitive if it's more open? I think it's a good way to switch things up, and it makes the players make decisions, and I think that's always good for challenging the players.
And that's Kristen with a great angle on that rive. And this is Owen's flippier destroyer. You can see it kind of start to bend at the top of the flight. Owen is not a player that really gets the disc up to speed, but she's just an angle master, isn't she?
Yeah, she, like we mentioned earlier, she's putting a little bit of flex on almost every shot she throws and really stretching the disc out. And when she gets close on the greens, she is one of the best putters in FPO history.
Truly FPO history. Gotta agree with that. I mean, she's an inspiration to many.
Cat flipped that over. Gonna have kind of more low ceiling than if you play it off to the left on this one, but she's gonna be able to get herself up to that mound most likely.
And that was a good look at her. Look at this, Connor.
Yeah, good look at the grip.
That's coming out. Oh. Wow. I mean, it looked like a roller. It really did.
Yeah, one goes with kind of that, I don't know what you call it, the kind of pistol, like stack the index finger grip that you'll see out of certain players. I think Paul throws that some, and Nate Sexton, I know, throws
Jenkins. Nate's is a little bit different than that. His fingers are a little closer together, I believe.
But yeah, he does kind of pinch them in a way. Kristen puts a move and puts it on the top shelf.
Did that
was
stay?
An aggressive upshot.
I think it did.
She's smiling about that one. She knows how sketchy a green like this can be, and having the released stress of not having to putt on this basket is really nice. Whereas Chrissy's going to have to deal with a tricky uphill lie. Might switch her footing up. I think these greens also cause you to have to kind of be comfortable with multiple putting stances. Sometimes your stagger stance or your straddle stance can be your stagger can be hard to generate power. On those uphill ones, you got to go stagger. Straddle. Wow, I'm mixing them up.
That's
you don't
all
know
right.
what I'm saying.
That's all right. I feel you. And Owen decides not to give that one a go from 40 feet. As this cat from a couple paces closer, and even these right here are they're just nervy.
Yeah, they really are. Any cage hits can run away from you quick. And Chrissy climbs over that rim nicely. Par start here on the back. Not bad, as these holes played well over par.
And Kristen did stay up on that second tier. That's hard to do. I believe she went mid-range into the green here on the 11th. Oop. I don't think I've ever tossed a putter in that way.
Yeah, that felt a little scary, but Kat is getting in however she feels. She's the artist, so she gets to use the paintbrush.
Yeah, nice.
Chrissy staying focused, making sure to follow through, squeaks it in. There's a look at that water kind of dripping off the cage. And here we are on the 12th. This one's another par 4, 465 feet. It's going to be one of the shorter par 4s, possibly the shortest on the course. And looks like we have a mandatory to navigate. You got to play it to the left of the mandatory. So going to force these players to get to a good spot where they can then access the green. A lot of trees to navigate here. And if you catch them, you're not going to have an easy putt, so you really got to fly past to get into circle 1. This one played as one of the easier holes on the course, actually, at almost a half stroke under par.
Just
Kristen pushing that one.
Yeah, it Just a little early out of the hand. Is she smiling as she pushes through that inside gap, and Owen's gonna take this destroyer. Yank.
Putting
Flex
all of her
out.
body in that one.
Oh my goodness, man. It's really entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just such a unique style, and it goes to show you guys that it, like you just said, it's an art form. It doesn't have to be done one way. Really what matters in the end is the confidence behind it. I mean, of course, there's a little bit of you want to be able to get the disc up to speed and everything, but
There is a balance, I think. Mentally, you can be so capable that you can overcome lots of things physically. And that was some crazy ground action. Cat gets up to a spot where she has maybe a long eagle run.
Yeah, what a reaction off the tree there. Oh, and a great looking approach. Yeah, you're not going to see too many par 4s in the sub 500 range.
Owen going destroyer even on that short shot just to get the skip over to the right.
Another thing about Owen's shot selection is that she doesn't care what people think. She's not like, her ego isn't hurt because she's throwing a destroyer on 200
she's not
feet.
like, oh, Kristen's throwing a mid-range, so I'm throwing a destroyer. I feel bad for myself. She's just like, oh, this is how I feel best about giving myself an opportunity to cash this putt in your face. Oh,
Oh, that's unfortunate after just a huge drive.
yeah, gonna be a tough one to swallow, but honestly, kind of a crazy tree reaction, so hopefully able to settle in with the par.
And she's getting back into the swing of things here. That was a really good looking stroke on that uphill putt.
Yeah, such a clean spin there. Owen making sure that she is out, I believe. Once again, covering those putters. We got some moisture in the air. Like Nate said, it's hard to tell, but it is raining right now. You can see the camera back there all ponchoed up. Mr. Peter.
And if you guys notice, Kristen, Owen, and Kat, watch what they do with their left arm. They put it down at their left hip and they force that left shoulder back. That's something that I'm always preaching someone when they've got that stagger spin putt, is to get that left shoulder back out of the way so that when you extend the right arm, it can extend to the center of your body and not out to the right of the chains.
Yeah, and just gives you a little more room to create momentum as well. Kristen, very comfortable with the straddle putt, but even her kind of pushes that left arm back so she can just get a little more room to move the disc. And what a clean, poetic putt.
Oh, and Maria Oliva just continuing her run, 9 down through 12, followed by Cy at 6, and our girl Owen Scoggins at 5 down.
A lot of separation on the leaderboard.
Drama all the way to the final hole. Kristen to win the Waco Annual Charity Open. She's done it! Kristen Tattar.
All right, hole 13, par 3, 315 feet. We are headed back toward the swamp here. Don't push this one too far or you might not see your disc ever again. You skip on that pine straw and get a little trickle down toward that water, and it's gone.
Yeah, you can see that moss layer on top. You might not even be able to see it, and you do not want to go poking around in these waters.
Yeah, the concentration of cottonmouths is high here in this part of the state.
Cottonmouths, snapping turtles, alligators. And we're not far from a large landfill, so I don't know if you really want to be poking around in that water.
We have not even shared about that. We're pulling into the park, guys, and we see it's probably one of the biggest landfills I've ever
100%.
seen. I haven't seen anything.
I've never seen one
mountain.
larger.
It's a mountain. It looks like it's from Idiocracy, the film, and there are thousands of buzzards swirling around this landfill, guys. No exaggeration. It looked like dystopian Earth from 2250.
Yeah, I would guesstimate like 5,000 vultures, just like a big tornado of blackness around it.
So Cat is actually going mid-range here on a 315-foot hole, and that is just another mean reaction for her.
She had such pace out of the hand, though. That thing popped out real clean.
This is her gator. She's going to try a little skip shot with and executes.
Yeah, and I feel like some I'm seeing out of this FPO track versus the MPO, I think it's a little more trodden on ground, so not as much grass. There seems to be a little more ground play in general, whereas MPO, there's not a lot of patches where you get fast action on the ground. These are those important putts if you want to win tournaments, and we know Kristen Tattar is well versed in doing just that.
"35 feet and just the perfect pace right there, Connor." That's what really tells me that someone's confident, is not when they putt it extremely fast, but when they have that pace dialed from that distance, because they know that they're going to put the perfect amount of speed on there. They're not worried, they're not nervous, they're just confident and just letting it fly.
Yeah, when Kristen's hitting her putt, it just looks so easy. Just the sink of her upper and lower body just creates such easy momentum. Definitely something to learn from. If you're not already learning from the #1 player in the world, then what are you guys doing?
Oh, and there you said it, the sink between the lower body and the extension.
Yeah, it's so important. If you video yourself putting a bunch, a lot of times when you notice the upper and lower body in sync, the putts are coming out pretty good. And here we have a big down tree to fly over. Watch out for that poison ivy. Probably starting to shoot off some new leaves, as we see a lot of competitors on this Texas stretch always having to deal with it. This one's going to dogleg hard right at 513 feet. This one's going to play somewhere in the middle of the pack, just a little bit under par. Going to have out of bounds line to the left coming into this green that slopes gently from the left to the right. And another down slope off to the right. Looks like we got some water down there, so once again, do not want to be sawed off on this hole on either shot.
Yeah, this was probably the point in the round where the rain was coming down the heaviest, and
There it is.
you can kind of see it coming through on the camera lens there.
Yeah, that's drenching rain right there. Not the light
Oh, come
stuff.
on now. That's a unique little reaction. Little bump and run, as Philo likes to call it.
It's a good term. Philo's got some fun terms for sure. He's got some I haven't heard of a lot of times.
The knurl.
What is that?
That's like when a disc like curls
The
and
little last like loop of curl.
It's
at
the
end.
knurl. Ian started to use it now as well.
Yeah, discs do have a tendency in that last little bit of momentum to just kind of grab the ground and curl one direction or another, depending on which way they're spinning. I don't know if I'm ready to commit to the knurl yet, but we'll search for a term. Maybe we'll create our own.
We should create our own.
What would you guys call that last dying breath of the disc gripping the ground and spinning left or right? Let us know in the comments.
Good looking rive forehand from Kristen, and she's at a similar distance right outside the circle.
Oh, and loading that thing
Oh,
up.
is it head no B? I don't
Cranking it
think
over.
so, Connor. It's a destroyer. It's going to skip perfectly.
Like you said, just the roller coaster of emotions most players would have releasing the disc on some of the angles she does.
It's like, that's going OB by a mile. Nope. And that's a good looking putter approach there.
Yeah, I think it's always good to throw as slow as you can on those approaches because while Kat looked like she kind of missed her angle by a touch, she played the slow disc and just continued to push straight, and she's a lot closer than she might have felt like she could have been.
Here we are. We've got 3 putts from range.
Kristen,
Oh.
another high left spot. We saw one early in the round kind of have that same reaction on her. Those are tough ones to swallow. You feel like you had a pretty good putt and just these 3 levels of change just didn't want to accept it.
That one felt like it could have stuck.
I agree. Felt like mid-height in the chains.
One of the things I wanted to add, Connor, was, you know, a lot of these players, they're traveling in, you know, vans and RVs, and they're living out of their vehicles. And Thursday night before this round was probably one of the warmest, more humid nights that we're gonna have like all year, to be honest. And I actually saw quite a few players that were leaving the parking lot because they went and booked themselves a hotel room to get some AC for the night, because at a certain point, sleeping in your car is just like not an option.
Yeah, I think the threshold to me seems to be about right around that 74-degree mark. That's where you got to make the decision. Kat squeezes another one over the rim. That's been a theme of her with some of these made putts.
All right, hole 15. Things are getting tricky here. 654, par 4. A few gaps. You kind of have to pick one off the tee, and you have low ceiling up the middle there. And then we are headed back toward the retention pond. A couple late trees to deal with as we approach this pretty fast green here with the pine straw. Really kind of a picturesque green.
You can see just the collection zone of discs coming out of the water. Oh, and whacking this one over. Scares you every time, but
And
it just...
that was the steepest one yet, I think.
Yeah, I keep waiting for it to just not fight back, but it does every time. Kat gets a little nose up on this Thunderbird probably that she's been throwing
I'm
all
going to find
around.
that out. That's a new one, Connor. That is the... I believe you're right. Nope, that was a turn.
That was a
The
turn,
pink
okay.
turn.
Bumping up the speed. Got a little more room to work with on this hole. Not as narrow as a fairway as we've seen on most of the course. You can see how much water's accumulating on that tee. Sometimes throwing forehand like Chrissy is, it can be hard to trust that you're not going to slip out with that long last step.
Gorilla Disc Golf. That's the crew that's running this event, is that right?
Yeah, I believe
Chris
so.
Vandergriff?
Yep, Chris, and I know they sponsor Simon and Robert Burge and a couple other players, and yeah, I think maybe also Double G, so doing good stuff out of the Houston area.
Yeah, Houston has been, you know, it's one of the biggest places for disc golf in the United States, honestly, as far as the volume of players and the quantity of courses. And
yeah, I'm excited to see how the Houston course, like the course design continues to get pushed as we have more and more players, and that was an impressive upshot by Kat Mertsch coming into this fast green, like Nate said. Perfect disc, perfect angle, rewarded with the park job.
And Kristen was just barely safe on this one, and just a terrible lie down there by the pond, and wasn't able to get back toward the circle.
It's a little bit out of Owen's range, so elects to lay up, take the stress off herself. Don't give it some half-committed run. Another bit of foliage for Kristen coming out, and she's got a little bit of work to do. Longest putt left of the group. Really leans that upper body forward there and drives that one in. You could tell she felt a little bit of tension there.
Yeah, just with the way that she leaned her upper body over.
When you're playing on greens or in terrain with all these pine needles, I call it the pine needle shuffle. I feel like it's a mandatory, especially if you're putting straddle stance.
And I kind of overlooked this shot right here. She goes MD3 into the green here on this lengthy par 4. One of the most impressive birdies she's had this entire round.
I'll be interested to see Kat's arm length versus her height. I feel like she's definitely on that ape index. She's got some long gangly arms, and here you see her using them to extend and rip on that turn.
All her slow-mos have been like identical.
They really have, and definitely goes to show that she has that muscle memory dialed in, and she's getting the reps up. Hole 16. It's a par 3 at 267 feet, or 81 meters for all you non-Americans. Honestly, I think that's the proper system. We need to get on board.
Certainly. It feels awkward at this point when I go out of the country.
And as you can see, don't want to go long here. You have that downslope and thick line of trees, so pick the right distance. That once again will get you there, but not too far. And that looks like maybe mid-range out of Cat.
Yeah, it's that J again, and really the danger here is you're forced into the hyzer, and if you hyzer just a little bit too much, you're gonna find that OB left, and this looks great out of Own.
How does she have so much touch with the driver to just just have gentle ground play on a fast 270-foot hole? That's Chrissy puts the hands up, asking why did she release the disc so high.
Oh, and Kristen sees something else on this left side going forehand.
Yeah, well played there for Kristen. The forehand, I feel like, finishes a little more sideways than the backhand, the way it has a little bit less spin. So on those holes that have danger long, sometimes if you have both options, the forehand can help mitigate some of that risk of pushing the out of bounds deep.
Oh, it's going to be an unfortunate bogey for Chrissy, and this for birdie, and it's up and in. And there's that body language again, just going to open it, gets up over the rim.
Yeah, Kat's willing those 25-footers in right now. Just with that energy. And Owen goes to 8 down. She's playing a clean back nine. She started off with a bogey and then really has ramped it up since then.
And this was actually a glory from Kristen. What speed is that, Connor? That's a new one from Lat, right?
It's a overstable 7-speed, not the craziest overstable, but definitely one that you hit it hard and flat, and it's not going to turn at all, going to fade pretty hard. So, yeah, definitely a good kind of bump down from that overstable 9-speed, maybe just a little bit less ground play. Cat with that steep angle. Once again, lifting up that body language like Nate was talking about. Sometimes you feel like changing the perspective of your eyes will make the putt go in or not.
All right, hole 17 is... It's a risky tee shot here. Out on this peninsula green. It's only 297, but as you can see, check out this OB here. Right, left, deep, it's everywhere. And with the wind direction, this one was playing tough. 6th most difficult hole, 1/3 of a stroke over par. Cat is playing it safe. Doesn't want anything to do with it, Connor.
I was getting ready to say, this is one of those holes I feel like if I see this in the game plan, I might go grab a backup disc and just like commit to throwing that on this hole so I don't have to worry about losing a go-to. But Owen said, I'll just throw my go-to driver, put it up there. The confidence.
Just throwing full
of a
flex
baller.
destroyer into a peninsula. There's that confidence.
And yeah, like we said, the way she gets a full flight out of the disc, it kind of kills some of the ground play sometimes. And yeah, Kristen, maybe that glory again.
It was the glory again.
Well thrown. And this concrete block off the tee just enough to kind of scare you too. So another element of challenge to this hole.
Oh, it's definitely in the mind's eye, that's for sure.
You do not want to hit that block. You don't want to be that person. And your disc doesn't want to be that disc either. Cat staring that one down, making sure it doesn't have any funny business left in it. Chrissy double checking, making sure she's taking the correct lie as deemed by the card. Always a good thing to do, even if you feel like you know where it should be. It's always respectful.
And this is for 9 under.
Owen Scoggins. What an impressive putting display she has been putting on today. And she got a freaking ace for you guys on hole 2. That's just, she's putting on the show. She does it for the fans.
And these conditions are kind of what we're going to be looking at all weekend too. We've got intermittent thunderstorms and rain and wind.
Yeah, it looks like tomorrow we're going to see some sun, probably some switching winds, and then Sunday is looking like we'll have some more kind of guessing game. Are we going to get crapped on, or are we going to be okay? We'll see.
And this is just a gorgeous setting for the 18th here on this retention pond from the abandoned golf course.
So cool to have one of those dock tee shots. I believe they'll have a turf pad on the dock there, so don't worry, they won't be throwing off the wood. And what a picturesque finishing hole. I think aesthetics really matter to a course and how much we remember them when we watch them as fans. So I think a finishing hole like this is really going to stick in the minds of the players and the fans. And I think that's great. Let's see how they navigate this slick tee, though, as it's dumping rain. And we see that wind whipping.
Oh, man. That's unfortunate. I really wanted to see her get to double digits, something that we don't see too often in that FPO field. And, you know, shortly after that shot, Owen and I are standing on the tee. We see a couple of ducks fly over the tee pad. Ducks I've never seen before. I had to Google them. The black-bellied whistling duck, Connor.
I think I saw.
Go ahead and Google that one at home, guys, because it looks like a toy. They're gorgeous.
Oh my gosh.
Just like that shot, she hits the koozie to close out her round.
I couldn't tell if it caught the cage or not, but the koozie will work.
And that's going to get her back under par. Which is kind of surprising because she threw so many impressive shots.
Yeah, she really did. Chrissy matching that shot, giving the basket another scare.
And
Yeah,
this is
sometimes
the
you
drop
can
zone.
you can have those rounds
Oh,
where there's half or 2/3 of your round you're throwing the disc as crisp as anyone, and those mistakes can really just eat your score up sometimes. Kristen just a couple of rotations shy of cashing. Owen cleans up, still a very respectable round. Unfortunately, bookends it with bogeys, but she said, someone said, "Will you tap out for me, Owen?" She said, "Yeah, sure. I'll take Owen to tap out for me on every putt for the rest of my career, please."
all right. Chrissy's celebrating. Close out her round with a birdie.
And Kristen, unfortunate par. Not the hottest round, but honestly, her 5 down's going to have her right there within striking distance.
Pretty fun course for the FPO. Very scoreable.
Yeah, good balance of holes playing over and under par. Definitely a course where, especially on the front stretch, you can really find the rhythm. The back definitely mixes it up for us. We saw 3 of our 4 competitors playing under par. Kat, those couple unfortunate doubles, but other than that, like you said, she played a really solid round. And one last look at the leaderboard. Owen Scoggins, solo leader after 18. Maria kind of dropped off a little bit. We saw her coming off hot. Thank you guys so much for joining. For Nate Perkins, I'm Connor O'Reilly, and it has been a pleasure to bring you guys this coverage of Central Coast Disc Golf.
We'll see you tomorrow for round 2.